The night was cold and dry across the colony plains of North Prime. The wind carried a strange scent of metal and ash whispering through the cracks of an old human settlement long forgotten by most supply routes. In one of its rusted dwellings where the solar heaters barely worked and the lights flickered from power fluctuations, a man named Rian Locks sat alone. He was a former soldier, now turned mechanic, living quietly and far from the politics and wars of the stars. His days were simple, filled with fixing old rovers and trading scraps for food. He had no family, no visitors, and liked it that way until the knock came. It was faint, barely audible over the howling wind. At first he thought it was a storm beating against the outer paneling, but it came again softer this time like a plea. He stood slowly, eyes narrowed, as he approached the door. No one knocked here. No one even came this far. He opened the door, expecting perhaps a scavenger or someone lost. Instead, he saw her. She was collapsed on the metal steps outside, body curled protectively around a small bundle held in her arms. Her skin was pale violet, dusted with fine silver markings, and her eyes, even though half closed, shimmered like starlight. Her breathing was shallow and weak, but when she looked up at him, there was only one word she could speak. Please. Then she fell silent. Rian's instincts kicked in. He rushed forward, scooping the limp alien woman into his arms, along with the tiny swaddled creature she had clutched to her chest. He carried them inside, placed them gently on his cot, and ran to gather medical supplies. He was no doctor, but he had seen enough in the wars to know how to stop bleeding and keep a life from slipping away. Hours passed. The woman stirred, first eyes fluttering open with a fearful gasp. She tried to rise, but went collapsing back. Rian stepped forward slowly, hands open to show he meant no harm. You are safe, he said. You are in my home. She blinked, struggling to speak. The baby is fine, he added, sleeping. Tears formed in her eyes. I did not mean to come, but I had no choice, she whispered, voice raw and soft. There is no food, no medicine. My mate was killed. I thought if I left her here, maybe you would help. You were ready to die, he said quietly. She nodded. Rian exhaled slowly and looked at the child now resting in a bundle beside them. The infant was small with delicate features and soft glowing eyes like its mother. It cooed gently, reaching one tiny hand toward the light. What is your name? He asked. Lariah, she answered. And the baby? Velen. Rian moved the heater closer to them, adjusted a blanket, and returned with a small cup of water. Drink this, he said. You need strength. She took it with shaking hands. Her fingers brushed this for a moment. Warm, tired, grateful. Over the next few days, Rian did what he had not done in years. He cared. He cooked simple food, fixed a crack pipe so they could have hot water again, and rocked the child when she cried at night. Lariah slowly regained her strength, though her body still bore the scars of a long, hard journey. She spoke little at first, only in short sentences, but as time passed she opened up. Her people were from the Nureli-clad peaceful artists and healers caught between warring factions who cared nothing for her kind. Her mate had died protecting her in Velen. She had wandered for weeks with nothing but desperation driving her forward. I followed an old signal, she said one night as they sat by the heater. Your beacon. I thought maybe someone still lived here. He looked at her then. You walked across the winter plains with a baby on your back. That is more courage than most soldiers I have ever known. She smiled faintly. You are kind for a human, and you are braver than any warrior I fought beside. Velen began to cry. Lariah moved to pick her up, but Rian was already there, gently lifting the child into his arms. He had never held a baby before, not once in his whole life. Yet as the infant looked up at him and curled tiny fingers around his thumb, he felt something shift inside his chest. She trusts you, Lariah said, watching him. Maybe I trust her too, he replied. Weeks became months. The snow melted. Supplies came in slowly from traders who Rian had once ignored but now welcomed. They brought fabrics, food, and small toy for the baby. Some looked at Lariah with suspicion, but Rian stood firm beside her. "They are my family," he said to one trader who dared question it. "You are human," "She is not," the man replied. "And what of it?" Rian answered. "She needed help, so I gave it." Lariah began helping him in the workshop. She learned quickly, her nimble hands perfect for delicate wiring. Velen would sit nearby on a blanket, playing with bits of polished scrap, and watching her two guardians with bright, curious eyes. One night, as they watched the stars, Lariah turned to him. "I was ready to leave her. I believed there was no hope. But you gave us life again. You came to my door," he said. "That was all it took. No, it was more. You opened it. You saw what I was and still chose to let me in." He looked at her. "You are not helpless now. Not anymore," she whispered. "Because of you." They stood in silence a moment. Then she reached out, taking his hand in hers. "Thank you." He squeezed her hand gently. "You and Velen saved me too. I was just too buried in silence to know it." From that night forward, they were no longer just survivors. They were a family. A strange one, perhaps built from chance and hardship, but real. Rian found purpose again, not in fixing machines, but in holding a child's hand and watching Lariah laugh as she painted the walls with glowing dust from her world. Velen grew stronger each day, smiling more easily and crawling across the floor with joy that filled the once quiet home. The man who had lived alone on a broken planet no longer saw a future of emptiness. He saw light and warmth and meaning, all because one desperate mother placed her child at his door, and because he had chosen not to turn her away.